Okay, good morning, everybody. It's 10:02. Let's get this meeting started. I'm gonna call a roll. I'm here, Mary Hartman. Paul, I see you.
Paul Bohm is here.
Great. Okay. First order on the agenda is to ask for public comment. So does anyone on the call have any public comment? Okay, seeing none. I'll move ahead to approval of the minutes. So I think we saw the minutes for the meeting we had 2 weeks ago. I think that was November 12th. Paul, did you get it? I wrote those minutes. Paul, did you get a chance to
Yeah,
review?
I did. I no edits. They look great.
Great. Good. Do you want to make a motion to approve them?
I move that we approve the minutes November 12th, is it? Is it the day?
That's the date. Yep.
Okay, November 12th.
Great. And I'll second that. So the minutes are officially approved. Next thing on the agenda is to review a space requirement spreadsheet. And I think, Paul, you were taking the lead on this. So you want to give us an update on where you are and what you need? And
Well, I sent that. I just want to. I asked for comment. Can I share Can I share?
I
Yeah.
think so, yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Another spreadsheet. How about that? Can you see this?
Not yet.
It says I'm screen sharing. You're not seeing that?
No.
It looks like it's loading, but it hasn't come up. There it is.
There it is. There it is. Good.
Okay, so I just put this together and asked for comment to make sure we were capturing everything. The objective here is to really get a handle on the square footage for whatever whatever space we decide we're going to consolidate or not consolidate. So the properties are listed on the left here, and I've captured the staff space. Now the staff space, these are the numbers you've seen before for staff. Generously, I have included 150 square feet per staff. So I've loaded this column. That's probably an overestimate given everything. So so I've done this tally, but the rest of the spreadsheet is empty because we need some input, probably from Carrie and staff on workspace to support the functions. And what I mean by those are, I have this little list down here. Whoopsie, where'd it go? For example, we're going to need a reception area. We're going to need break rooms, kitchenettes, kitchen. So there's a list here and to choose from, and maybe there are others. So we need to populate this list here. And we should all be mindful that, for example, if we consolidate, not every row needs a conference room. Not every row needs a kitchenette. So we have to kind of populate this by combining some of these spaces. And I don't know how to do that, and I was asking for input from staff. And then we could calculate how much square footage we need for this, I'll call the workspace supporting functions. Okay. The third category over here is the program space. This is programs, this is school space, this is council on aging space, this is a program space. And we need some input from those entities, from the schools, from Dan Pettit, and from others on the program space. So those are the three pieces we need: staff space, function space, and program space. So I just set this up.
Okay, I
Others
see
populated.
Carrie's got her hand up. Carrie, you want to
Yeah.
speak?
Yeah, I just wanted to confirm for the group that we are working on this. Megan, Shannon, and I, and several other staff members met on Monday. And so we would expect to have this updated pretty soon. I would say, I also thought the 150 square feet per staff was a high number, but Russ Carlstead confirmed in our internal planning meeting on Monday that that was sort of the rule of thumb for planning for office space. So I assume that's okay. I will tell you, based on this grouping of activities, we were thinking that maybe 5 meeting room spaces would be required, of varying sizes. Some might be conference room sizes, some might be medium room, and then large room, but we can quantify that. And I think that the one thing that we need a little more time to work on is the program space. So I would hope pretty soon we can fill that out for you.
Oh, that's great. I just want to make sure we weren't missing any columns here. I agree, 150 square feet is probably rule of thumb. It probably is an overestimate, but let's start with that. Let's start with those numbers. And I think these staff numbers are still an estimate as well. They're as good as we can get at the moment. But so these are, I think what we need here, Mary, is sort of a pretty solid estimate, and that's all what it is. It's an estimate to see if we can fit all this into various spaces. Yeah, that's what we're after.
Exactly. I know, I think that we need this information, and I'm glad to hear that we'll have it soon because we need it for quite a bit of the work that we're doing, uh, especially if we're thinking about leasing new muni, or we're buying new muni, or we're renovating, or we're building a new
Right.
building. So all of this information is important to complete our modeling. So that's good to hear that we'll have that.
And we're also, I haven't confirmed with Tracy. In fact, I haven't gotten feedback. We need the school inputs here for all of these items. And just as a reminder, there are there's schoolrooms, there's STEM, the STEM facility. There are other things at Ripley that we need to relocate. So we're gonna need similar input from the schools through Tracy.
Okay, do you want to follow up on that, or who should follow up on that?
I'll follow up on that with her. And
Okay.
that
And again, I think it would be helpful if we put a deadline on that. Um, I think if we're shooting to have some kind of report back to the bigger land use working group from our subcommittee in mid-January, I think we need that information, within early December. What do you think?
yeah, that'd be good. And yeah, I don't think it's difficult. It just requires to make sure we count all the spaces without leaving anything out.
Right. Alan?
Yeah, just so because Russ is not available today, and I'm going to kind of lean into him. I know we're leaning into him on some of this data. To be clear, for the program space, we're talking about things like garage area for heavy equipment, maybe a mechanic bays, maybe a playground, that kind of thing that are not related to office/office support. Is that what we?
Well, actually, our focus is on the consolidation of municipal offices. I'm pretty sure that the other subcommittees will need the square footage for garage space and things like
Okay.
that. But
Okay.
we're interested in office space.
Administrative work and
Yeah. So specifically, and that gets back to something we asked for, I think at our last meeting, was to split out 133 from 135 Kai's Road, the admin people there that you have,
correct. Yep.
and
Okay.
and a recommendation on which you think would be good departments to consolidate in municipal offices. So
Excellent. Okay.
that's what we're looking for. But
Yeah,
Got
so
it.
that's why I've highlighted these boxes here that we I assume the Public Works subgroup is going to need this, but we don't.
yes,
And
exactly.
other than office space, which is included in these numbers, but anything that's specific to engineering or facilities. Anyway,
Yeah, yeah. So we need that information as well. And we have, I think, emails out to you. And again, I'm hoping that we have that by early December.
Yep.
yeah.
Understood.
Okay. Anything
Okay.
else? This is good, Paul. Thank you. It's a good way of capturing what we need. Any other questions on that? Any points you want to make about data that we're looking for in there, Paul? Or do you think?
Um, no, I think to Carrie's point, if we're going to consolidate all these functions and buildings, and I think she's ahead of the thinking how many conference spaces we need and just and a combined force. And Yeah, the configurations of buildings may be different. Whether it's Peabody or a new building, there may be several floors or one floor. So there may be some uncertainty. If you have three floors in a building, you might need conference rooms in each one of them. If you have one floor, you may need one. You're just going to have to do some guesswork at this point because I think,
Absolutely, absolutely. We're not going to have, I don't think we're going to have design down to that level. I think we're going to have to do some broad brush.
yeah. So we need the generic program space and workspace for a generic consolidation target.
Good. Okay. Sounds
Yeah.
good. Okay. I think I'll move on to the next agenda item, which is the overall design of the January deliverable. So I know we talked about this 2 weeks ago. We looked at what Judith had put forward at our broad group meeting. I think we liked that general outline. Both Paul and I have put together a first look at, I think, a slide that captures it all in one slide. So, Paul, you want to start by sharing yours, and I'll fill in any blanks that I have on mine. But let's get the
Okay.
general.
Okay. You can see this, I hope.
Yeah.
Um, oh, it's big. Okay. So what I've done here, these are not the universal scenarios, but I've come up with seven scenarios. I know you wanted five, but let me start with what I had here. So these are the options. So status quo is nothing changes. And so I've tried to define what happens with each of these major facilities. So in the status quo, yeah, this is all theoretical. You would sell Peabody, there'd be no change in Ripley, no change in Kai's campus, no change in the buildings. In other words, we're not selling those. And if there's a new building, it's not applicable to here, right? Then I have two partial consolidations. The first one is, and they're the same, except here we renovate and occupy Peabody, and three, we renovate and occupy the new building. But partial meaning where we move only Ripley and Kai's in the townhouse. The others would be no change. I don't know if this is the right partial scenario, but this was your sort of a shot at that, so we would not move Council on Aging, for example, or some of the other buildings. So these would be major moves of Ripley, Kai's, and Townhouse, mainly to be able to sell Ripley and Kai's. Okay, so that's sort of minimal consolidation in this scenario, and three is the same as two, except it's a different consolidation target. Four and five are the same. They're mirror images. The full consolidation is everything. Everything is moved. And in the vacated buildings, Mary, we lease those buildings. We're not selling them other than Ripley and Kai's, but the other Court Lane and even Harvey Wheeler, we would lease those buildings, lease the vacant buildings. But in this full consolidation, it's either happens at Peabody or it happens at the new building. So this is kind of the leasing option, but we sell Ripley and Kai's. And then the 6 and 7 is the full consolidation where we sell the vacant buildings. Okay, this one is we occupy Peabody, this one is we occupy a new building, and we kind of sell everything else. This is our maximum sale, if you will. What I haven't included here, it doesn't include leasing of a new building. It includes purchase. So you can include other scenarios, which has everything here, but full consolidation into a office building that we lease instead of purchase. I haven't included those scenarios. In our various conversations, I just sensed that it wasn't advantageous for us to do that, but we could add those. But that gets our scenarios up to 9, and we don't want to move in that direction. So that's what I had here, Mary. It's sort of the trying to figure out the moving pieces and what remains, what's sold.
Okay, this approach first of all, I think you're looking at I don't remember talking about partial versus full consolidation. Let me show you what the way I approached it, which is
Okay.
different axes, because I wanted it to match the I don't know how to say this. I wanted it to match the did you stop your sharing?
I did.
Huh. I can't get mine to show.
It's worked. It seemed to go in and out. You had a dog image at one point. It showed
That's
that you're
my
trying to share.
No, that's not what I'm trying. Okay, let me try. I'll keep trying and I'll keep trying. I'm sorry, people. You're gonna have to give me a minute here. There you go. There. This is how I looked at it. Can everybody see this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is kind of how I had it looked at it because it kind of mirrored the way I was modeling it with the financial model that I had done before. So the options that I've got in the first column are the options that we're looking at, which is status quo, which is no consolidation, sell Peabody, consolidate to a renovated Peabody, consolidate to a new building at the Peabody site, buy a new building, or lease a new building. And I did when I thought about what are we going to consolidate, I pretty much assumed you were going to consolidate pretty much everything that makes sense. And I know that's pretty vague what I just said, but when we look at the financial model in a few minutes, you'll see what I assumed that we would consolidate. And they're the usual suspects that we've talked about. So I kind of assumed we would consolidate them all. However, having said that, there will be benefits to consolidate in some of these sites because we can do it slowly or we can do it over time. So this is how I framed it. It was here are the options, and maybe we have more. Here's the total net cost over 10 years. Here is the cost per year. And I added this column because some of these options are going to have a 50-year life, and some of these options are going to have a 10-year life. So I didn't want the 10-year financials that I do here to just stand on their own. I wanted to look at it more over a longer time frame. And then I have the pros and the cons of each option. So these are this is the way I'm thinking about it when I'm doing the modeling, which is why I put it in this format. So what do you think, Paul? Or anybody else?
I think this is not inconsistent. The difference is you don't have any partial consolidations, which I'm
Right.
fine,
I don't have any partial consolidations. Exactly.
which I'm fine with. Of course, the pros of these consolidations and the assumptions is what we sell. I think what happens to the vacated buildings is really important, whether we lease those or sell them. I don't know if you model both or model the best case.
Oh, well, okay. At this point at this point in the work we're doing, I'm just looking at consolidating the municipal offices and what that means. I mean, as far as what that might unlock, I thought that that was the work that the Fuller Group would do after we had given our recommendations. Am I approaching this? I'd
Well,
like to hear from Sven and Judith.
just like how in the modeling, if the modeling is independent of the revenues that we could benefit from that, then fine. But I would think the modeling, you have costs, but I think you need so to balance the cost, I think you need the financial
No,
benefits.
I'm comparing the cost of not consolidating with the cost of consolidating. So I'm not considering the revenue that we would get by another use of, say, Ripley. Okay, because that is a broader model that will be done after well, I think now we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here, but I'm assuming that at the end of this phase of our work as a broader group, we'll have one or two scenarios that the subcommittees will prioritize, and that's what will be modeled going forward as far as what it unlocks and what are the domino effects of that. I need help here. I don't think our job right now is to figure out if consolidating to Ripley, what that means as far as unlocking the value of Ripley for another use.
I'm not, well, I'll defer to Judith and Sven. I don't see why not, because it is it's very,
Well, yeah,
there's there's some eye-popping numbers when you figure out the potential revenues from a consolidation. So the big
I,
pro, there's a big financial pro. Go
yeah,
ahead.
and I think that will
tend,
show. I think. Go ahead. Sorry, Sven. Do you want to add here? Because
yeah. So I think if you're leaving the potential revenue side to the side, it will be very hard to compare really the different options, because you're only looking at the
yeah,
cost side, but the income side is equally important.
no, you're right. Okay, so can can we take a minute and I'm going to try to think this through because let's assume I'm modeling, um, we consolidate to Peabody, right? And I look at what does that mean as far as the costs of renovating Peabody, moving to Peabody, fitting up Peabody, and what does that save us? And that would show what Peabody looks like. But I don't know how to include in here. Well, I guess I have included. I'm getting lost. I'm
Well,
lost.
I think in the model that I think you haven't shown everybody that I saw, you did have the revenue, you did have the revenue side
I did.
in the
I
status
did.
quo.
I did.
You had the, if we sell the property and, and we have zone, depending on zoning, there's revenues and tax revenues. So I think those for me are important pieces of the model. It does make things a little bit more complicated, but
Okay, let's think through Ripley then, because you're right. We did Peabody. Let's think through Ripley. We're not consolidating to Ripley.
no.
I mean, at least I'm not showing that as an option, right? So the revenue unlocked by moving people here is going to be it's going to be a cost saving of avoiding the capital improvements we need to do at Ripley. Now, what we do with Ripley later is a different question. So all I'm looking at is what are the costs we save by moving people out of Ripley, and what could it be used for? But I'm only thinking of one possibility, not many possibilities. Did people follow what I just said? No.
I do,
I can tell. I can tell.
but you're still looking just at the core the cost side, and to communicate the benefits of consolidation. It's not just cost savings. It is revenue generation.
It is.
And
It is.
it's you can
That's true.
I believe that you can generate capital here that could be used to pay for public for other capital we need elsewhere in town. So
Yeah. Okay, but I'm not going that far. All
I
I'm doing,
know, I know, I
no, I'm
know.
not going that far. I'm just saying this is what we save, right, by
Correct.
moving Ripley into one of these options. This is what we save. Now, I'm not going to, is this the right place for other places? I'm only quantifying the savings by consolidating, not by using it for DPW or public safety or any of these other things.
No, no, not using it. I'm just saying that the revenue generation. The modeling that you did for status quo did have revenue generation in there.
It did. It did.
It did. So I think you need revenue generation for each of these, and selling Ripley and or selling Peabody and perhaps selling other, but it's not a small it's not a small gain. It's a big gain.
Okay, I got to think about that.
And you can use once you know what revenue assumptions you do, let's say behind Ripley,
Yes.
it's the same number on a metrics. Yeah. So you can have your options and say these are the cost savings for these different options, and then you have the potential revenue options. It's just a module you put in. They
Yes.
put potential revenue for Ripley, potential revenue for Peabody, and so on. And then you get a good comparison. And I would position it as potential revenue because you have the time factor and whatever might really evolve, but to get an order of magnitude is what you want to get there.
I mean,
Okay, so let me ask the question. If we consider we consolidate Ripley to one of these options, I make an assumption that we sell Ripley for housing. Is that this a safe assumption, right? Okay.
yeah.
What if I show that we're consolidating the assessor's office to one of these options? Do I make an assumption that we're renting the assessor's office?
Either renting it or selling it. I think we're getting appraisals for a lot of these buildings for the purpose of understanding the value of selling.
Okay, I got it. I think I understand. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
So I
So
don't,
so every
if you
time
take,
we
I'm sorry, if you take each property and you do a sale versus lease option, it gets very, very complicated. So I think, I mean, I'd be happy if you considered selling the major properties and maybe leasing the other buildings, Could we sell 55 Church Street or Court Lane or others? Possibly, but maybe just settle on for now, just on the the leasing option. But if we buy a new building or build a new building, you then unlock the revenue in both Peabody and Ripley
Mhm.
or for housing.
Well, if we build a building on Ripley, then we still have to keep that land. So,
Oh, for build, yeah. I know that.
okay, this helped me. So I haven't started to model these options because I wanted to be sure these are the options that we're sticking with. But now I'm thinking through that, yes, when we start renovating, when we start consolidating these sites, it unlocks something there, and I've got to make an assumption about what it unlocks there. And
Right.
that will be in the show the value of consolidating to one site versus another. Okay, I think
And I think these scenarios are fine. These are simpler than mine. This just takes out the partial consolidation
are
piece.
you okay with these?
Yeah, I'm fine. I think partial consolidation is a little difficult to even figure out. But the other one, which has great value, is Kai's Road. You know, if Public Works has moved to a Public Works site and a municipal site, we've been talking about Kai's Road. Then maybe another property along with Peabody and Ripley to put some value on in these scenarios. Those are the big three in my mind: Peabody, Ripley, and Kai's Road in terms of unlocking value for housing.
Hmm.
Yeah, but that would be in the public works subgroup.
Yeah. I'm
Yeah.
only thinking of
Oh, that's
consolidating
fine. Okay, that's
admin.
fine. Yeah,
Yeah,
keep it over there. Yep.
yeah. So I'm going to be probably talking to, I'm going to need, as I get into this, I'm going to need some more information about what is the revenue potential that we get from consolidating some of these offices, the spaces that we're considering consolidating.
Let's talk about the new building, for example. I
Yeah,
think
sure.
the minutes recorded that Judith suggested or asked that we include building of a new building somewhere. Um, uh,
Yep. Go ahead.
so that's basically knocking down Peabody and building a new building at that site. Um,
Yeah.
I,
Do you want to add another row?
well, I mean, is that the only is that the only site we consider building a new building? I think probably the answer is yes, but I'm just kind of thinking through, do we want to have that new building scenario in here, given that, well, I mean, I think we have two attractive scenarios, which is a new building, purchasing an existing new building and Peabody. But I'm okay with throwing in a third option, which is because I think there has been discussion about exactly that, building a new building at Peabody would be less expensive than renovating a new building, renovating Peabody. So maybe leave that in there. I'm just talking out loud here.
That's fine. I
Yeah.
just I had my turn, so it's your turn too. Talk out
Well,
loud.
I'm just rambling. So, yeah, let's leave that in there because I know folks on FinCom had said, yeah, so and others have said it's less expensive building a new building and renovating Peabody. So let's keep that in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the rule of thumb is that if to renovate it costs 60%, it's probably easy of building, we should build it because a new building will last 50 years. A renovated building will last what, 20, 30 years. That's why I put that extra column in there because I wanted to compare cost per year, not just a 10-year look at the cost.
Yeah. And that last row, leasing a new muni.
Yeah.
I'll defer to Kerry whether that option is beneficial. I I personally am not keen on that option versus other options, but we can leave that in
Which
there.
one? Which one?
The lease, if we consolidate, we move everybody and we lease a building instead of building or renovating. So, but
Carrie, what do you think?
Yeah, I'll just make the same point that I made previously is I don't know that there's any benefit to the town to lease. I mentioned that, private businesses lease because there are tax benefits. Those benefits don't exist to municipalities. And the other thing is the financing would be different. We couldn't entertain any type of debt financing for a lease.
So, okay. Do you want to take it off? Paul? What do you think?
that would be my vote, but
Well, we're hearing from the town manager that it's I think that might be
yeah. Well, that's why I'm voting in that way.
okay. So, I think we're agreeing that we should take off uh the lease of a new muni, right?
Yeah, and I think these are solid scenarios, consolidating, buying a new building, building a new building at Peabody, and moving into Peabody. Uh,
Okay, does anybody else on the call have any ideas about options? I think now we're only looking at what? Seriously, one, two, three, four options. We okay with that? Good. Okay, good. That that moves us along a little bit.
yeah.
And then again, back to the format of this as being our primary slide, our deliverable. No doubt we'll have, verbiage and modeling behind these numbers, but this I'm thinking will be the summary slide. I've got total cost per year, pros and cons, and we're going to have to work through some of these pros and cons. These are just things I thought of off the top of my head. But Paul, you and I and Tracy are going to have to think through pros and cons when we get better numbers, when we get better data and then better numbers. What do you think as that approach?
Yeah, I think that's the right approach. But to our previous conversation, you could need a column on revenues, potential revenues.
Not just the net of the net. Cost here is the wrong word. It should be net cash flow.
Oh, yeah, if net cash flow includes all the potential revenues, then
Okay, let me think about I'll think of about the best way to do that. Okay, but I hear your point.
yeah, I think it'd be beneficial to show what the revenues
The
are,
revenues,
the
okay,
costs are.
potential revenues.
Revenues, costs, and then net.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
okay.
think because I think they're very interesting numbers.
Okay, I think can we go move on to the next thing on our, oh no, here we go. The other data and staff updates. This might be a good time to pull up the financial model that's going to be populating these numbers and get a look at it. But before I do, Paul, are you okay with this format? If you add, we're going to add some revenue line here, so we get a feel for that. Yep.
Yeah, I think this format backed up by narrative is perfect. This is
O-
this is sort of the crib sheet. I always like to have all of our results on one sheet so it can be viewed. This is summary. It's a good summary.
Shannon raised her hand. Shannon, what do you want to say?
So just on some other data and staff updates, I know Carrie mentions that we had that internal staff meeting on Monday. And Megan made a spreadsheet that I'll be able to share with you. I'm gonna send an email out on Monday. I think most people are kind of checked out for the week, but with an update on all of the studies that the working group and subcommittees have requested, who the staff point on it will be and what its status is. So we have, a full list of all your requests now, and I think that that will be helpful to guide us moving forward, and then you can know who is working on what.
So you're going to send out a list of the data we're waiting for and who's going to get it to us and when an estimated date? Is
Yeah,
that what you're talking about? That would be great.
yeah.
Okay, good.
And I will reach out on the school side to Tracy because I assume Shannon, you're not including, or are you including the schools in there?
I mean, what exactly are you looking for?
Well, all the parallel information that, when the schools move out of Ripley, all the space needs and et cetera.
Yeah, I would say we didn't discuss that on Monday, but I can connect with Tracy if you need.
Well, I'll reach out to Tracy and just you know I'll catch her up on this and okay.
Sure.
So we're going to count on you, Paul, to get the information or get to Tracy to get us the information that we're missing. Is that we're agreeing on that?
You can count on me.
I thought so.
I hope. I hope.
No, we're counting on Tracy, but we're counting on you to get the message. That'd be great. Do you want to take a minute and go through these pros and cons just so that we get an idea of what I was thinking and kind of pique your thinking, Paul, or do you want to?
Yeah, yeah. Whatever you want to do here. We're gonna have to do it. We have time today.
Yeah, we're going to have to refine this, obviously. But so the status quo, a pro is that it allows the town to, we don't consolidate. So it allows the town to prioritize the DPW and the public safety, which I think we agree that out of the three efforts we're doing here, those do have priority. The cons is that it's costly to stay with so many buildings scattered across the town. Consolidate to a renovated Peabody. It gives you the pros are it gives you all the benefits of consolidation, staff, reduced travel times and convenience for residents. This should say including staff, it should say collaboration.
Yeah, I think that's a really big one, and potential efficiencies too.
Yeah,
I really think
good.
we can't articulate those specifically, but you can bet if people in the same place, there's going to be a lot of efficiencies.
Yeah, okay. Then I have flexible timing. It can be done in stages, which will help maybe with the financing. And here I have this, it fits Concord's aesthetic. And then I have question. What do you think?
I'm not, if Concord's aesthetic is it's sort of the town center view and the architecture, and it doesn't fit that at all. It fits a different aesthetic.
It does. It does.
It fits more of a country, woody, open space aesthetic. So maybe that's part of it. It's not. I'm not exactly sure if we had 10 people in the room, what we would define Concord's aesthetic
Yeah.
similarly, but I don't know.
I don't either. I know this would fly in Lincoln, but I'm not so sure about Concord. Alan, you have your hand up. Go ahead.
Yeah, not that it's my aesthetic, but it's important. I've heard through the architects and those in the business of architecture that this structure
Yep.
is very unique and special. And so I think, Concord's aesthetic or not, there's something about that, whoever the architect was in its era, that it has some value in the architectural world. That's all.
Good. I'll say architecture. How's that? These are just placeholders, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But I think
Great.
there is a community that might even that'll register with. That's all.
Yeah. Okay. Any other comments from people? No. Okay, we're good. As far as the cons, renovating Peabody, the town perception of the health of the building, that is something that we're trying to address with the assessment. The lifespan of the building, I brought this up earlier. I don't know the lifespan of a renovated Peabody. I need information. I'm thinking 20, 30 years, but I need help with that. And then the cons are again, you incur moving costs and fit up costs for any consolidation.
Yeah, I think the location is a con.
Okay. Okay. Because
Um,
on the edge of town.
yeah, not that it's a nice place, but it's just at the edge of town. It's kind of, I mean, it's not a preferred location for a number of things, and maybe not even for convenience for residents. I mean, on one hand, everything's in the same place, so that's convenient. On the other hand,
Right.
uh, you can't walk to it. So yeah,
Okay. Again, these are placeholders. We'll talk
yeah.
about them later, hopefully when Tracy joins us. Okay, to consolidate to a new building at the Peabody site. Again, we get all the benefits of consolidation that I've listed up here. A longer lifespan than a renovation, and it will be designed to meet Concord's aesthetic, however we decide, so it's a clean slate. We don't have the architecture, the distinct architecture that we have now. And I think that's a benefit. Anything, any additions here or deletions?
Well, I think it would be perfectly designed. Right now, we're trying to fit pieces into an existing Peabody, but we have a bespoke building that we could design for specific needs.
Ah,
I think the advantage would be we could design it to exactly fit the needs.
got it. Linda Miller has her hand up. Linda,
Sorry, I have to unmute her. She should be able to unmute now.
Thanks. Um, just in terms of, I don't know if this would go under aesthetic or cons or pros, but it would seem to me that one of the positives of a renovation is that, you have the reuse, repurpose aesthetic of Concord in terms of, not having to build a new building and destroy an old one. On the other hand, with a new building, you would have opportunities for greater to build in greater sustainability and perhaps advanced, a net zero kind of opportunity that I wouldn't imagine you get in a renovation. So just maybe those balance off or maybe those don't, but just something I was thinking of.
thank you. Thank you. I've added those. Good. Thank you, Linda. Anybody else?
It's a good start.
And then down here, I've got so we're
Well, but you should add the location to the cons as well. It's because it's the same.
right. Got it. Okay. And then to buy a new muni, we have the revenue potential from excess space because we think that we might end up with a building that has more space than we need. Again, we're not designing to our needs. We're actually taking what's already out there available, and we might have revenue potential from excess space. That's the pro. The con is the town becomes a landlord. I don't know how, I think those, I don't know if they balance each other out, but
Are you referring to existing tenants
yes, yes.
okay.
Or let's say we get a building that has empty space after we've consolidated everything, every department that's a candidate, and we still have space left over. We're gonna have to lease that out. So that's a
Well,
consideration.
well, there's revenue potential from excess space, but also there's revenue potential from vacated space, which is what we talked about before. When you
Do
say
you mean
excess space, that's in the new muni, right? That's what
Yes, Yes.
But I
What
think
I'm using the word excess here, meaning space we don't need. So you want
right.
to
But
change
I would
the,
add the revenue potential from the vacated buildings. We
oh,
talked about this.
that's over here. We already talked about that. That will be in the financials. When we put up here the revenue, this is a different kind of revenue. I'm not. I think you and I are thinking about this differently, and I don't know exactly how to reconcile what we're thinking. The revenue that we're going to get from this building or any building that we were to buy will be in the financial model, right?
Yeah.
But in here, I'm putting it here because it means that we might have a building that's too big for us. So yes, it gives us revenue, but then on the other side, it makes us into a landlord. Do you want me to just take it out altogether? Because it is going to be in the financials that are here and the column that we're adding to show the revenue. I could take it out.
No, no, that's good. I'm just wondering if that's complete. So aside from, excuse me, aside from the first columns, the financial columns, I do think the fact that we could raise money for capital uses. I don't, and maybe it's captured in the cost column, but I don't know. It'll come out in the narrative, so I'm not worried about it. You do have in the last column, you do have costs, but that's just moving costs, right? Do you have renovation costs up? Can you go up to the Peabody? No. Okay. It's consistent. So all the cost benefits you're saying are in the
The
financial
numbers.
columns, yeah.
Right. Yeah. And again,
Um,
we'll have backup as to where those numbers come from. Sven, do you want to say something? Help us out here?
Yeah. It's just in the pros of the new Muni.
Yeah.
I assume you have, because you're using it at consolidation, you have the similar points like benefit of consolidation and
Yes.
so on. So you have to repeat that um, in there like you repeated it for the other ones that you
Good
say these
point.
are all the cons. And I assume that the the cost buy versus kind of renovate or build with the
Yeah.
others will be covered in the two cost things.
Yes.
So we have to have an eye on that kind of buy versus build that we can clearly compare that.
Yes. Yes. Okay. That's a good point. So many of these benefits fall over into all of these scenarios other than the status quo. So we got to capture those is what I'm hearing. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, because you're repeating it on the others, so it should
Right, but
be
not
repeated
here.
here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just for
Yep.
consistency.
That's right. No, I see what you're saying. So then
well,
that kind of
so
goes back to Paul's point, which is revenue potential is a benefit of all of these scenarios because it unlocks, right? Something.
yeah.
Okay.
Well, different types of revenue potential. The one at the bottom
Yes, different types.
is yeah.
Right.
The last option, I think it should probably be called buy and renovate new muni because I think we're gonna have to renovate whatever we move into.
Yeah,
Uh,
you're right.
Probably the renovation costs are different than the Peabody renovation because it's basically interior.
Right.
The other pro, I think, with the new muni is location. You, right? I mean, without talking specifics, the munis that we're looking at have a better location than Peabody. So
Yep.
I think we should put that in there.
Okay. Okay, so I a few so I guess we're agreeing that we'll kind of keep this format. We'll
Mhm.
add a slide to show the revenue potential because we think that's an important piece of every single we'll differentiate them from each other. I'm gonna kind of clean up some of these pros and cons, and we'll have to run by them. We'll have to run through them again, hopefully in a meeting or two, and finalize them. And we have to have narratives behind this and the modeling behind it. So I think that was good. That was a good,
Yeah, it's great.
that was a good exercise. Um, okay, let me see. Looking at our agenda, do we want to take a minute and also look at the status quo model? Paul, do you want to do that or what?
Uh, sure. Yeah, let's take a look at
We
it.
could just take a look at it really quickly. Um, okay, so we've made this is again is the modeling of the status quo. We made some changes since the last time we spoke. This top portion here is looking at the costs of not consolidating. So everything stays where it is. We pay for operating expenses, we pay for maintenance, and we pay for CapEx. Paul, you had asked me why, and these numbers, I have the sources for these numbers, but Paul, I know you had asked me, why did I put the CapEx costs in year five?
Yeah,
Because the way the reports that we have 10-year costs. So I didn't know what year to put them in.
yeah.
Do you have a different idea? I'm not wedded.
I don't. It certainly you got to put them somewhere, and spreading
Yeah,
them
you
out is
got to put,
pretty arbitrary. So, okay, I mean, that explains it. What are the highlighted boxes of those?
these are things we're missing. Okay,
The Also, I
so
mentioned to you, Russ wanted another crack at these numbers because when I showed him the recent spreadsheet, he said, "Where did those numbers come from?" I said, "They came from you, Russ." He said, "Well, let me take another look at it." So I think
I
these are
think they're
probably
going to
good
go
numbers.
up. I don't, you want
Yeah,
to guess?
these are probably good numbers, um, but are you escalating these operating costs?
Yeah. Okay, let me see. Yes, I'm escalating them 3%. Okay,
Okay,
every year, 3%. The operating and maintenance costs I escalated at 3% a year. These costs, the CapEx costs, are out of reports that were done in like 2020. 2024, I upped them by 50%, actually. So they're 150%. But so this we need, I just need to prorate this for CMLP, the staff that's sitting now in CMLP. This is the operating cost for the townhouse. I don't believe that number, so that's why I highlighted it. And then again, this is CMLP. So a very little bit of data here that we still need. But this is the bottom line so far. It costs us about 36 million to have these um, departments spread over these buildings. And these are the only ones. So earlier, Paul, when we were discussing full consolidation versus partial, I'm going with full, but I
yeah,
did not include Knox Trail and I did not include the visitor center.
right. I think that's
Okay. So I'm looking at the assessor's office, 141 Kais Road. I don't know, we need to split this out. I'm including Church Street, Ripley, Council on Aging, Townhouse, and a little portion of CMLP. And that's all I'm including. So again,
yeah.
I dropped off Knox Trail and Visitor Center. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, so 35 million is the 10-year cost of
Yeah. Yeah.
operating out of those buildings. Yeah.
Yeah. Carrie.
Mary, this may be a Russ question, but for the
Yeah.
townhouse,
Yeah.
that 1.6 million number, is that supposed to just be maintenance over the 10-year period?
Um,
Do you,
that came out of, wait, I think
But
that came out of the TBA report.
maybe that would be one to highlight for Russ to take another look at. And
Okay.
the TBA report, I remember it talking about like a $10 million cost for the townhouse, which would have been a full renovation. So obviously that's high, but just our elevator, for instance, does not meet current requirements. And at some point, I think would need to do something about that elevator, and I can imagine the elevator in replacing the elevator in this building could be a significant chunk of that amount of money.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Carrie. Do you think we should run these by, you said, Paul, that Russ is going to look at these numbers again, right? Maybe,
Well, he was going to look at the operating costs. He probably should look at all these costs because
yeah,
these are the capital costs on top, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, do you want me to send this to him and ask him to eyeball these?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that okay, Alan?
Please, that'd be helpful.
Okay, good.
And,
Um,
and, and just for the group, and Tracy's not here, when we asked Tracy about line 10, um, I, I'll paraphrase what you said, that schools have no plan for any capital improvements other than things that are broken. I said, fine. But then the Gorman Richards report, which is a fairly recent report, 2024, had a pretty detailed, I'll call it a wish list. I don't know what to call it. I mean, that's where those numbers came from, right? The 16 million, the Gorman Richards report.
yes, it did.
It's an independent report. So there might be some disagreement there, but I'd say we should go with what's documented by a consultant there.
Sven? I agree.
Yeah, I would agree with this because even if in the short term they're not fixing stuff, we have a report that tells us what needs to be fixed, and it's only a matter of time that the town will face emergency fixes when something breaks. So you need to calculate that these things that are identified that will break. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, the data that we have for the town buildings and the data that we have for the school buildings doesn't align perfectly. So for the town, from the TBA report, we know what the maintenance costs will be, like when the electrical systems break, when things, and that's included in these numbers here. Okay, here, and they're in year five. The Gorman Richards report only really gave us the costs to not renovate, but to bring the building, I think, further along. And I can't find in that report what it would cost to just kind of fix things as they break and limp along. So I went with this because that's what's available.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, from my understanding, the report is bridging 5 years and saying really nothing what is beyond 5 years to be
Hmm.
done,
Hmm.
which is another wild card. So at the moment, we hear from the schools they're only fixing things when it breaks, but the report is very clear that the building is beyond its usable time.
Hmm. Yes.
So, and we know if something breaks in a building that is beyond its usable time, it breaks big. And then we have to address emergency repairs and financings, which are again expensive. So I think there must be a better answer than we are just winging it from one day to the other, hoping and praying that nothing breaks for the next 10 to 15 years.
Yes. Agree.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to know that. Um,
I guess it's not surprising that about 75% of the 35 million is on capital improvements as opposed to operations. So
that's a
rough
good
number.
point. That's a good point. Yep.
Yeah.
But I think we need to clean up these numbers a little bit up here
Yeah.
because Carrie, you made a really good point about the townhouse. You think that that number needs to be revisited. So, yeah, I'd like Russ to take a look at those numbers. These numbers came right out of the TVA report. I put maintenance in year five here. Okay, so that's what we think it's costing us right now to keep these departments in separate locations, about $36 million. And then down here, these are the revenue sources that you were talking about earlier, Paul. So if we sell Peabody with double A zoning, we bring in $2.3 million. That includes the selling the lots after demolition, and that includes the tax revenues we would get from the homes that are built there. So this is the revenue we get if we keep it at double A zoning, which is 2 acres. Down here, I
Yeah,
made, sorry,
so
go
you're
into,
saying Peabody only brings us 1.5 million?
yes, yes. And the reason, okay, so it's double A zoning, so it's 2 acres, right? And I got some information from Judith that if we should only consider, I think 75% of the acreage is available for actual lots because we need acreage for infrastructure like roads. So we did a rule of thumb that for 8 acres we'd get 6 buildable lots.
So this is if, I'm sorry, this is if we sell off the property by lots. I thought the assessed value or not assessed value, the appraised value was up in 10 million for that property. I'm trying to reconcile those numbers.
You have to look at the zoning. This assumes double A zoning, which keeps the current zoning intact. And I think you have in your model a B zoning, which gives you more lots. So everyone who will buy it always and pay for it how much they can develop on it. So if you keep double A zoning, you can only develop how many? Four or six,
Six,
six
six,
houses.
yep, 6 lots.
So they're valuing it just based on six lots, versus when you do it in B zoning, you're getting how many?
12 lots, right?
Must be more
Well, no, I think
because
it's
B is half an acre, double A is
jumping.
two
I'm
acres.
jumping. I'm jumping. Okay, B zoning, 12 buildable
But it must
lots.
be a factor four higher. Yeah. Yeah. 12 for B, but
12.
three for double A. That's where you have it. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Factor four is the difference between the two.
Yes, it's 3 with double A. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Paul. Let's get back to your question. Do you
No, I'm
feel
sort
better
of
about?
lost. So Peabody goes up for sale and developer looks at it and says, I can build houses here. What's the zoning? And that's the price he pays based on the revenue.
After demolition, right? So this is net of that. So this is what the developer would pay. So let me go over to the assumptions thing that I did. And here we're double A zoning, right? The
Yeah.
building lots would be 3. I misspoke before, right? The revenues would be 1.4 million. So that's 850,000 a lot minus 1.1 million for demolition. The assessed value of the homes that they build there are 2.5 million. This would be the tax revenue in the first year they were built, and I assumed the taxes would go up by 3% a year. Wouldn't that be nice? And with B zoning, which is half-acre lots, you'd get 12 buildable lots. This would be the revenue after demolition. I'm assuming the homes would only sell for half the value, and I don't, to me, that's a soft assumption. Um, this would be the tax revenue, and again, it goes up by 3% a year.
I think it's a very soft assumption,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Well, what do you think? Do you get it? What do you think? It would be helpful if we had some input from a realtor as far as what they could get for zoning. Maybe, actually, I think Judith had some of this information, and I think I pulled it off of her latest spreadsheet, but I could be wrong.
I mean, houses in the neighborhood on half-acre lots. I'm sure the
I,
assessed value is higher than 1.2.
I don't know if there are homes on half-acre lots in that neighborhood.
Hmm.
It's zoned double A. But that would be worth looking into. I mean, look at a GIS, pick out a thing and see what's it assessed at. But I don't think you're going to find half-acre lots in that neighborhood. You'll find 2-acre lots. So that's how I got these numbers. This number is the net revenue that we get from selling the lots and getting the revenue if we retain the AA zoning. This is the amount of money we get if we change the zoning to B. I think it is zoned AA now, isn't it, Sven?
It is double A, so the
It is.
underlying is double A. So that,
Right.
but say for B, you have to go back to town meeting
Yes,
and get
you'd
it
have to get a vote at
resolved.
town meeting, change it. And we
And
could go to,
I would agree is the houses probably will be more assessed at a $2 million than a 1.25. But
I think so.
yeah,
I had it at 1.25. So you think it'd be 2?
I think it will be two.
Yeah, yeah, easy.
Well, that just increased the number pretty well. So again, and I just pulled, I mean, AA would be no, we don't have to go to town meeting. Pretty straightforward. This would be we'd go to town meeting and maybe we'd go for better, denser zoning. So this is what we save by consolidating, and this is what we get from revenue, and this is the sum of that. So if we keep the status quo, we sell Peabody. This is what we pay. This is what we get for revenue. This is the net. If we change the zoning to B zoning, we still have an outflow of 35 million, having buildings all over the place that we maintain and we improve or keep workable, and this would be our inflow, and that's the net. So I think what you're talking about when you were asking earlier on our summary slide would be you'd like to see what I'm calling inflow. You'd like to see the revenues from these different scenarios. Is that
I think it'd be helpful.
accurate? Okay, so I should call it revenue. Yeah, that's fine. That's easy to do. So the next step would be to do a model for each one of those options and then be able to, and again, so this is a 10-year look at a status quo scenario. And then we can look at each of the others. And as I do, I'll have to, I'll have questions. So if Russ takes a closer look at these numbers up here, I think that will help a lot and kind of give us, a higher sense of confidence in the $35.5 million number that we're paying to keep all of these buildings open for our staff over the next 10 years. So, any comments, questions, suggestions, criticisms?
I just want to cycle back on Sven's point of the critical failure and assumption. So one is routine investment. And then I think what we're asking Russ is if he's familiar with what's the most likely significant failure in these structures that are worth, capturing? Is there a roof that's going to go? Is there a heat system that we know? That's what we're talking about as far as the, trying to predict, the equipment is well beyond useful life.
Well,
So,
I just want you to know that I did take these numbers from the TBA report.
yeah,
So if he thinks these numbers need to be updated, I think I'd really like
okay,
to know why rather than just be given a number.
yeah,
Some verbiage behind it would be very helpful to me.
okay.
What do you think, Paul?
Yeah, I think we need that backup. Yeah.
So you sound disappointed. You disappointed? The revenue numbers are disappointing to you for selling Peabody?
I'm just scratching my head, so that property is potentially only worth 1.4 million to the town. If we sell that 7 acre, how many acres is that?
It's 7 point something, almost 8 acres.
It's eight acres.
Yeah.
So divide 1.4 by 8.
So my numbers,
So it's less than $200,000 an
so I should
acre.
add I should have 6 lots there, right?
Two
Sorry,
acres. If it's
No, it's
eight
three.
acres,
Three.
it's three.
It's three. I had it right. Yeah. So it's 8 acres, but we can't build on all eight because we have to put roads in there and some
Right.
other infrastructure. So we can only build on 6 acres, and with 2 acres per lot, that's 3 lots. Because I mean these are big lots, right? So 3 acres, three housing lots. And I put maybe my assumption per lot is wrong. I have 850,000.
No, makes sense.
You think so?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's the demolition costs, I think, that are really
no, it is just if you build a house, yeah, the cost of the land relative to to the cost of building the house and relative to what you can achieve as a developer to sell a house has a limit on the for the land. Yeah, you can only put so much money into the land if you can only build one house of it. And we are not allowing duplexes, for example. Yeah,
right.
two family houses on double A. We're in Concord with the double A zoning, we're more or less undervaluing land and giving land away for free. That's what the situation is. And here we are on the sell side facing that dilemma. It, but that's a completely different topic, what Concord
Yeah.
wants to do
No,
the long term with double A.
that's
That's a good
helpful.
that's a
The-
really good point. Yep.
yeah, is the value of this property increased because it has septic already in place?
Well, that was included in the 850,000 per.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a lot of money.
and I just a thought, and this is just a thought bubble to share for this group. We are going to be, and it may not be possible. We're working with DCAM for rezoning of a significant parcel in Concord MCI. They're interested in evaluating, potentially exploring development outside of that footprint. We've had conversations about, where else in town could be housing. Is there any way that if we're going to town meeting for zoning change on that property, that if it was part of a bigger initiative, that Peabody could be contemplated to be rezoned at that same meeting for housing? I just throw it out there as a thought bubble.
Thank you. Thank you. To be part of it, it wouldn't stand by itself.
You got to be part of a residential,
Right.
commitment to DCAM.
Right. Any other questions, Paul? You're still
No, no, I'm just
looking pensive.
I'm in a pensive mood.
Yeah,
No, this is a great model. I think it's
it's a start.
when you start adding the other scenarios, it's going to get a little bit more challenging.
Yeah, it will. More assumptions. Yeah, I've worked on this a while, so I feel pretty confident. I'm really glad to hear that Russ is going to look at these numbers, and then I'll feel pretty confident about this. Just looking at one status quo, and then when I get into the others, we'll have to talk more.
Yeah, I'm just a question. When we get into the full consolidation scenario, which means that all of these listed buildings are vacated,
Yep.
um, do you have to do the same
Yeah,
assessment you did for PBD for each one of these, or
that's a good point. I guess I do.
yeah, I mean, well, that assumption is that we sell all of them and they can be developed versus we
Right.
lease some and we sell others.
Yep. Yeah, you're
Um,
right. That was very helpful today to hear that. So you're right for the other scenarios. And again, for the assessors, I really think I need to figure out what it would cost to rent that because I don't think we're going to sell that because it's part of the cemetery. But the other buildings, Alan's got his hand up. Alan, let me just finish my sentence and I'll be right over to you. But these other ones, yes, I've got to make some assumptions about how this could be reused. And I'll just make assumptions and run them by you next time we run
yeah.
through this model. Okay.
Well, I think Ripley is in the same boat as Peabody in terms of housing potential. The other ones, I'm not quite sure. We'll have to talk about that. Well, there's townhouse remains. We don't do anything with that. And yeah,
It might be reused, right? But it's not going to be sold. Yeah.
well, be reused for municipal purposes, I guess, right?
I don't know. Should we even consider it as a I'd like Carrie, are you still here with us? You might have.
I am.
Yep.
Carrie, do you think we should consider the town? We're talking right now about if these offices, if these are consolidated, what revenue potential does it unlock? And so I've kept the townhouse in here as a candidate for consolidation. And then the next question is, well, then what would the townhouse be used for? So how do you think we should approach this? Should we continue to include it? Should we assume it would be reused or what are your thoughts?
Well, I think there would be a lot of pushback to any private reuse. So my thought is potentially it's, the town clerk could stay here, potentially it's archives, potentially it's renovated into, I mean, I like the idea of archives and meeting spaces. But I don't think it's a revenue generator, and I think you get a lot of pushback if you put that forward as an option.
Thank you. Thank you.
But it's still on the cost side, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. I was thinking forward when what is the revenue that we unlock after we consolidate? Because right now we're still looking at no consolidation. But when we think about consolidating, what revenue
Right.
do we unlock from all of these places?
Yeah.
And again, we won't unlock any from CMLP. Well, I'm talking too much. I have to think about it clearly and slowly when I start.
Yeah. But this is a really good setup, and we have some thinking to do around these. But bottom line, I like your scenarios, and they're simpler than mine. We may end up staging things, which
We
which
might.
which is different than partial consolidation. But I don't think we can include staging in a model like this.
Okay, good. Thank you. I've gotten some good feedback. Alan, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, again, this is another just, I don't know where I heard this or if it's informed, but somehow a consideration of the Peabody for this group to understand for consolidation is the density and land use for municipal use is significantly, there's more, potential than the residential, right? And that sort of, somehow that has to be, understood, or I've heard that. So
Mm-hmm.
it's much like over at MCI, where if the town were to use certain lands and not have to rezone for municipal purposes, it's different. And I just put that on the radar. How
Okay.
does that factor into what could be realized on that lot? That's all.
Okay. I'll have to think about that. Right now I'm thinking that most of these we would sell and so would not be, subject to municipal zoning. It would be different zoning, but I'll think about that. We'll think about that. Thank you. Thank you for that. Any other comments, questions? Okay, I think I got some really good feedback at this meeting as far as ways to move this model to the next option. And I'll be happy to hear I'll send this to Russ right away and glad to look forward to his looking at these numbers. And remember, they come from the TBA report, the town numbers. So that's my starting point. Okay, so I think the next item on our agenda is to review the upcoming meeting schedule. So, Paul.
Well, one thing we kind of skipped over is data needs, and I'm just thinking.
Oh, I thought we were capturing them as we went along.
We
Go
will,
ahead. Go
but
ahead.
I'm thinking how the appraisal information factors into. So should the appraisal information jive with your numbers at the bottom? I mean, I would think yes, right? Yeah.
I'm assuming for this model that the appraised value and the market value are very close.
Okay.
In fact, they're the same. And that's probably not a good, at the beginning, appraised values usually lag 2 or 3 years behind market value. So at the beginning, that's a really good assumption. Later, this number will probably dip down because the the market value of the house will go up and the appraised won't. So I didn't really adjust for that. I made a very simple
Yeah.
assumption that the market value and the appraised value stay the same and they go up by 3% a year. It's not sophisticated.
Okay, thanks.
So the town will get like, close to $100,000 the first year for 3 houses. So anyway, yeah, so simple assumptions. But Paul, think about this some more. And if you think that there's other revenue, we made some assumptions here that understate this revenue, let me know. And I'll make that adjustment. As
No,
long as it's not,
I assume we're going out for appraisals of the, market value of various properties. I'm just curious whether the market value of those properties is consistent with your numbers here, the 1.4, or I don't even know
well, this is
how is Peabody land appraised? It's based on, it has to be some assumption, right?
Well, the same what I just said is they're looking at the zoning, how much you can build on,
Yeah,
and then they assume is you can build X houses, cost of the house for that. They can sell the house for X, and then you say, what? How much can you put into the land? And
yeah,
it's always a typical ratio
yeah.
in how much you can put it. And this
So
number, I think, is the right order of magnitude. Might it be
yes.
50,000 per house more or less? Yeah, but
Okay, so that's a good check. So that independent appraisal that
yeah.
I assume it's underway should look a lot like line 27
And in the appraisal briefing, we specifically asked for the two scenarios, the different
Okay.
zoning scenarios. Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. Thank you. Let me save this. Um, okay, Paul, let's figure out when we're going to meet going forward.
Mary, I did email Tracy too because I knew she wouldn't be here today to see if she had any input.
Yeah.
Looking ahead in December, it gets a little tricky because Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve are also both on Wednesdays, which is when you've been meeting. So it seems like the options either are meeting again next Wednesday and again on the 17th, or you could just meet on the 10th, but Tracy is not available that day. So I don't know if you would rather just do a scheduling poll for that week instead, so all of you could be there.
Thanks for doing that work for us, Shannon. So I'm hearing 3 and the 17th would work.
Yeah, she said that would work for her.
Okay. What about you, Paul?
Yeah, no, that's fine. 17th is good.
Um,
And then we're into
Carrie,
January, I assume.
well, I have meetings then. They're with Carrie. Carrie, I hope we can reschedule.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so December 3 and 17, you want to go out to January? Did you ask Tracy about January?
I didn't because then 2 weeks out from the 17th is New Year's Eve. So I think the full working group is meeting on January 9th. So the Wednesday before that would be January 7th if we
Okay,
want
let's
to
put a pin in
pencil
that.
that in.
Good, thank you. Let's put a pin in that. What do you think, Paul? So it'd be December 3, 17, and then January 7.
December 3. Wait, that's next week, right?
Yep.
3/17 and yeah.
I'll send calendar invites out for these dates, and then if for some reason the 7th doesn't work for Tracy, I'll let you all know.
Well, I think we have to meet on the 7th because, well, I mean, we've targeted mid-January to have our
As
kind
the deliverable.
of wrap things up a little bit.
Yeah, so
I guess-
let me send those out, and for some reason, if it doesn't work, I'll let you know, but hopefully that's fine.
Good, thank you.
Okay.
Anything else?
That's
Okay,
good.
everybody, happy Thanksgiving.